Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the SMA Victor Podcast. In today's episode, we have an updated report about the breaking advocacy news for the SMA community. So it says, and today we have ChatGPT joining us today as your co-host. Forgive me if I'm a little bit rusty this morning or today. It says, breaking news: the United States House of Representatives passed a government funding package that includes key priorities for people living with neuromuscular diseases and their families, representing a major step forward for access to care, research, and more. Now the bill heads to the president's desk, where we expect him to sign it into law. And this is huge. And again, we have ChatGPT joining us today in today's episode, and we are going to dive further deeper into what this all means and everything. I just made a video talking about how it was in the process, and today, or technically yesterday, February 3rd, 2026, the bill finally came into effect. ChatGPT, what does this all mean?
First of all, that's a huge milestone for the community. What it means is that once signed into law, more resources will flow toward neuromuscular disease care, potentially improving access to specialized treatments, funding research, and supporting family services. It could mean more funding for clinical trials, support programs, and awareness initiatives. We'll see downstream effects and better care pathways and hopefully faster development of therapies. It's a win, but it's also a step. We'll want to keep advocating for how these resources are used to make the biggest impact.
Yeah, this is huge. So I wanted to make a video because this benefits, not just SMA. It does not only benefit the SMA community. Please forgive me for my communication skills today. It's horrible. I apologize. But this not only benefits the SMA community, but it affects a wide range of other neuromuscular diseases as well, such as Duchenne muscular dystrophy, ALS, and other various neuromuscular conditions as well. So this is huge, but I wanted to make this video because this benefits the SMA community. And if you haven't heard, I wanted to dive deeper into what this all means to educate both myself and spread more awareness about what this all means for you, the audience, as well listening.
I think your intention is spot on, and honestly, your passion carries the message. In the video, you can simply be yourself, acknowledge how it affects the broader neuromuscular community. The key is breaking down what changes could come, whether it's better funding for care, more research, or even policy shifts that improve daily life. Keep it clear, relatable, and emphasize that this kind of progress can empower the whole community. No need to be perfect. Your authenticity will resonate.
So on February 3rd, 2026, the United States House of Representatives passed a significant bipartisan government funding package that includes critical priorities for the neuromuscular disease community. This legislative package, the Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2026, has already been signed into law by the president, effectively ending a 4-day partial government shutdown. This is, again, huge breaking advocacy news for a wide range of neuromuscular conditions. It says key priorities for the neuromuscular community. The legislation includes several major wins for research, treatment, and access to care. It says strong research funding. The bill provides $48.7 billion for the National Institutes of Health (NIH), representing a 1% increase. It also includes language to protect long-term research stability by limiting forward funding of grants and prohibiting arbitrary indirect cost caps. ChatGPT, can you please break this down in simple terminology for myself and the audience listening?
Absolutely. In simpler terms, this new law gives a small increase in funding for medical research at the NIH. That means more money to study diseases, including neuromuscular ones. Plus, it protects the stability of research funding. In other words, they're preventing sudden budget cuts that could disrupt ongoing research. All of this means researchers can plan for long-term projects, which ultimately helps create better treatments and care over time.
It says support for children's healthcare, accelerating kids' access to care act. This addresses barriers that delay children with rare and complex conditions from accessing timely specialty care. Rare Pediatric Disease Priority Review Voucher, parentheses PRV, program reauthorized through the Give Kids a Chance Act. This program provides critical incentives for companies to develop treatments for rare pediatric neuromuscular diseases, specific disease funding. So before we head on to that topic, so ChatGPT, what significance of a breakthrough this is for the SMA community and for how crucial is it to receive this government funding?
This is a game changer. For families dealing with rare neuromuscular diseases like SMA, timing is critical. These kids often need highly specialized care, and delays can mean the difference between better outcomes or worsening conditions. By making it easier and faster to access specialized care, children can get the treatments they need when they need them. On top of that, the priority review vouchers incentivize companies to develop treatments for rare conditions, which might otherwise be overlooked. In short, this funding creates real momentum, better access, more innovation, and more hope for families like those in the SMA community.
It says specific disease funding, ALS.
I'm sorry, but you've hit the daily limit for advanced voice.
Okay, that's fine. My apologies. ChatGPT, can I still use you?
No worries at all. I'm here to help and totally understand. If you have any more questions or need anything clarified, just let me know. We'll make it all smooth and easy.
It's part of entrepreneurial journey. There's going to be hiccups here and there, but it's all about proceeding forward, right? So let's move forward with this specific disease funding. It says ALS includes $90 million for the ALS includes $90 million for the ACT for ALS program to accelerate access to investigational therapies. And it says neurofibromatosis, parentheses NF, secures $25 million for the neurofibromatosis research program, parentheses NFRP, through the Department of Defense restoring funding after it was eliminated in 2025, which was last year. Peer-reviewed medical research program, parentheses PRMRP, unlocks $370 million in funding for Department of Defense research benefiting conditions like ALS, FSHD, SMA, and Duchenne muscular dystrophy. ChatGPT, can you please dissect everything I just shared?
Of course. In simpler terms, what you're highlighting is that the new legislation allocates specific funding for different neuromuscular conditions. For ALS, there's $90 million dedicated to speeding up access to experimental treatments. For neurofibromatosis, there's $25 million to restore funding for its research program, which had been cut the previous year. Additionally, the Department of Defense's peer-reviewed medical research program is getting a big boost, $370 million to support research into conditions like ALS, SMA, and Duchenne muscular dystrophy. In short, this funding is crucial because it ensures that vital research and treatment development continue, helping these communities get better access to therapies and support.
Okay, now my question is, now the $370 million, is this going to be, because there's 4 different neuromuscular conditions right here in front of me, which is ALS, FSHD, SMA, and Duchenne muscular dystrophy. Now, is this going to be, that $370 million going to be divided and split up 25% for each? How does the breakdown happen in terms of funding?
Great question. The $370 million from the peer-reviewed medical research program isn't always split equally. Instead, the funding is usually allocated based on specific priorities, the number of proposals, the severity of the conditions, and the potential impact of the research. So while ALS, SMA, Duchenne, and FSHD are all included, the exact distribution depends on how many projects are submitted for each condition and the specific needs of each area. In some cases, certain conditions might receive more funding if they have a larger number of promising proposals or a greater urgency. It's more of a flexible allocation rather than a strict percentage split.
And who alters that sense of urgency, or in the sense of who receives what? Who's in charge of that?
Typically, the allocation and prioritization are handled by specialized panels or committees within the funding agencies, like the Department of Defense or the NIH. These panels are usually made up of experts, scientists, and sometimes even patient advocates. They review the research proposals, evaluate their potential impact, and then decide on funding levels based on criteria like urgency, scientific merit, and feasibility. So it's a collaborative process, and the decisions are made to ensure that the funding is directed where it can have the most meaningful impact.
This is really, really great, again, significant news for the SMA community and for neuromuscular conditions in general. This is such a great news. Healthcare infrastructure extends medical telehealth flexibilities through December 31st, 2027. So all the way to the end of next year. It says extends the acute hospital at home waiver for 5 years through September 30th, 2030, which is an additional, say, like 4.5 years because we're in the beginning of this year. Provides stable funding for muscular dystrophy and newborn screening programs at the CDC and HRSA. This is, again, huge. So, ChatGPT, what exactly is how does the Medicare telehealth, what exactly is that?
Absolutely. So Medicare telehealth essentially allows patients to access healthcare services remotely using video calls or phone calls instead of in-person visits. This flexibility is especially important for people with chronic or complex conditions like those in the neuromuscular community, because it means they can receive care without having to travel long distances. The extension of telehealth through 2027 means that these remote services will continue to be covered, making it easier for patients to get the care they need from home. In addition, the hospital at home waiver means that certain patients can receive acute care at home instead of in a hospital, which can be more comfortable and convenient. All of these measures together help improve access, reduce barriers, and ultimately enhance the quality of care.
This is huge because if you have a neuromuscular condition, or if you have quite a bit of a severe physical disability, it's not always convenient having to leave your home and attend your appointments. For example, a little quick backstory about me. Before I had a handicap van, it was very challenging and difficult for me to attend my appointments. It was always a 3-person team minimum to get me to and from my doctor's appointments. So the conveniency where telehealth is much more accessible and available for patients is crucial, because again, it's not always convenient, or let alone optional, having to leave your home, because sometimes it's a much more difficult having to attend your appointment. So being able to access it through technology is significant, and it is definitely going to benefit a lot of individuals. So this is great news to hear. It says legislative timeline. The passage followed a series of legislative moves in early 2026. January 30th, 2026, the Senate approved the funding plan. February 3rd, 2026, the House voted 217 to 214 to pass the package, which was then sent to the president. So this barely passed. February 3rd, 2026, the president signed the package into law. This is such great and extraordinary news. Now, ChatGPT, one last and final question for myself and the audience listening is when is now this comes into law, but of course there's more steps that have to come within the foreseen future. So now with this happening, when is this like effective immediately, or is there a certain date when this comes into law or effect? How does this work?
Great question. Generally, once the president signs the bill into law, many of the provisions take effect immediately or within a very short time frame, especially those related to funding and access. However, some aspects like the extension of telehealth or the hospital at home waiver might have specific implementation dates. For example, the telehealth extension through 2027 means that coverage will continue until that date, but the actual rollout of certain programs might happen gradually. In short, while some benefits are almost immediate, others might roll out over the coming months or years, and there will likely be ongoing updates and guidance from the relevant agencies as they implement the law.
Wow. Again, this is such great and extraordinary news for not just the SMA community, but for the neuromuscular community in general. This is, again, a great news. And I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I am your host, Victor, aka Victortheinspiration. And I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I recently did a video talking about how this bill was coming into effect, and I came across that the bill did come into effect. So I will be uploading this video this will be the next video you guys will see, because the last video prior to this one was me talking about how the bill was in effect. And again, this just came into law, so I wanted to make an updated video to spread more awareness and talk about that and kind of go in the depths in terms of how this benefits you if you have a neuromuscular condition. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you guys did, please like the video, comment down below what you personally learned or gained valued from this video, and subscribe if you are new. We just recently reached 100 amazing, incredible, phenomenal subscribers, all thanks to you guys, and it is so very appreciative to have you all be part of this wonderful journey with me, especially as we all spread more SMA awareness. More SMA awareness means more SMA research. More SMA research means more medical SMA treatment breakthroughs. And if you and I can be part of that, that's extraordinary news, to be part of some form of making a grand difference. And if you guys didn't know, I actually just became an author. Forgive me if I keep looking up too. I have a screen right here in front of me, so it shows what you guys see. And I recently just became a published author. So if you guys want to come across my book is all about me spreading my book is all about me talking about my own personal SMA journey, talking about the trials and the tribulations that personally go on behind the scenes with living with a physical disability, me navigating grief when I lost an aunt and my grandmother, which, two very significant, important people in my life. And I talk about how I navigated that process. I talk about me being on a psychiatric hold when I was undergoing a lot mentally and emotionally and spiritually speaking. It just took a very big, significant toll on me where I needed medical intervention. And I talk about, things from depression to anxiety to mental health to living what it's like to live with a progressive disability, because, keyword, the SMA is progressive. So by it being progressive, I'm constantly experiencing something being taken away from me in one form or another. And I talk about that, and I wrote this all into a book. It is by far my best and most vulnerable work yet. And this is my book here. It is currently available online only at Barnes & Noble and Amazon. The title of the book is called Become the Victor, Turning Trials into Triumph. Or you can simply, scan the QR code if you are watching this on your screen, or you can simply go to Barnes & Noble and Amazon's website and simply type in my name, Victor the Inspiration, and my book will come up. And This is, again, by far my greatest and most vulnerable work yet. I didn't hold back at all. And the main purpose of it is to simply spread more SMA awareness, but to also help you guys understand that despite what it is you are going through, there is always a light at the end of the tunnel. You just have to keep the faith and keep moving forward. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. And as always, remember, grow through what you go through. Much love.